What's up, my people? It's your favorite light and boogie in this thing. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Can Be Broken podcast, where we are doing what? Shining light on the darkness that is domestic violence and abuse. If this is the first time coming on to this show, welcome, welcome, welcome. We got three simple goals: to educate, empower, and encourage. We're here to educate anyone who has never been in an abusive relationship, don't understand how people get there, why they stay, especially why they don't reach out for help. Or if they do, why did they go back? Well, we gonna find out. We are here to empower all of our survivors to stand up and share your story without shame, fear, guilt, or judgment, because you are strong, you are powerful, and your voice deserves to be heard. And to anyone who is currently suffering in silence, listen, you are not alone. You are definitely not crazy. Your feelings are valid, and despite how it may look and feel in this very moment, there is always a way out, and we encourage you to safely seek support. So come on with me as we hop up in this thing. We say hop up in this thing because it's always a ride, and we just don't know how bumpy it's going to get. We're going to rise above these insecurities, release the burdens of shame and guilt, and revive our God-given power, purpose, and passion the confidence way, because we about to light it up. Y'all don't know what it's about to be, but I am so excited right now. I feel like I need to go ahead and start this episode with a disclaimer. If you are currently dealing with trauma and there's a little haterade inside, you might not want to watch this episode, because it's possibly going to be a whole lot of sniggling and giggling going on. And for those of you who don't know, that's what healing looks like. That's what further healed looks like. And me and my sister on the other end are a little bit further down our healing journey than some people. And it's not to attack you, it's not to be judgmental, because we all know that this is a judgment-free, safe space. But what we will not tolerate is people coming at me or her because you don't like the way we laughing about our pain. Ain't that what Kevin Hart said? Laugh at your pain. Y'all can laugh at Kevin Hart pain, but we can't laugh at our own. Anyways, without further ado, I'm super excited to bring up my sister, who is a beautiful, gorgeous mother in all things glorious, illuminating light in this world. But people know her as Kristina. Kristina in the building. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, pew, 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 pew.
I said what I said. I said what I said, and I'm going to say it with my whole chest every single day. Kristina, girl,
Yes,
how you be?
I'm so good. I've been waiting for this call. I'm so excited. I really am.
I don't know who's more excited, me or you. I feel like I'm more excited. One, because it's gonna, like, the energy is good, but two, I feel like I'm more excited because it's gonna be a whole lot of content up in here.
Yeah, you gonna have some good sound bites, that's for sure. Yeah, make sure to at me and tag me in all of these, because yeah.
Please know that I will. Please know that I will.
Uh-huh.
So as I always start, we got to get started somewhere, and abuse starts somewhere. So my question for you is this: when you were growing up as a child, do you remember ever being exposed to, witnessing, or as you look back now, seeing something that may have slipped your mind or didn't think was abuse, but now you're like, oh yeah, that was definitely abusive?
That is so crazy that you would ask this question. Yes, today actually, in fact, I was thinking about the kind of abuse that was in my home, and I was thinking about my parents being a couple that were together for like pretty much my whole childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about my parents as like, I didn't live in a traditional domestic violence environment where like I was watching my dad terrorize my mom all the time, or watching like just, I feel like there's always the idea of domestic violence where there's obviously an antagonist and a victim, but my parents were very much sparring partners. And they
Mm.
were, so what I was experiencing was not adults that were punching each other in the face or anything like that. I had parents who would literally do drugs and be up all night long, hooting and hollering at each other, and like things would get broken. They were obviously arguing, but like they were doing this together. And also, they didn't have no clothes on. So it was just like, I was, right? I realized I'd never said that out loud earlier today. And I was like, that was weird. That was really weird.
Wait,
So
wait, wait,
it's like,
wait.
what category does that even fall in? Like, what category does that even fall in when we look? Because I was like, how you got yourself to these circumstances you've been at? And so I was like, roll it back. I was like, let's go see the parents. And I like went back and I was like, that was like a Tuesday, you know? Like,
A got the club going up on
yeah,
a
like it's just regular.
Tuesday. Hold on. Okay, pause really quick because I'm seeing everything you're saying. And I'm
Okay,
curious, how
good.
old are you when you I guess what's your earliest memory? At what age do you remember this?
I was definitely in early elementary school.
Okay.
So we're talking like before middle school. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in that third grade range.
Okay.
Because once I went to middle school, my parents weren't together. Middle school and high school, they had separated. So this was
Okay.
all as soon as you could start remembering things. You know what I mean? Like my earliest memory was I was small enough. So this is graphic. So we should do I don't know how you do trigger warnings or anything, but this is like I
Okay.
think falls into the SA
Okay.
without like physical contact. But I remember when I was like small enough to like have to like sit up and look over to the bed. And hold on one second, honey. Can you go take your tablet into the bedroom up there while I'm on my call? Thank you. So during during one of our homelessness and hotel stays, I remember because my mom and dad were always on drugs. Like that was always a part of.
Bananas.
Yes. So they're always just like, my dad was a black guy. My mom was a white woman. He used to sell drugs. And then eventually they had me. So it went from selling to doing 9 to 5 works and just kind of being in poverty and on drugs. And so we're in a hotel. And as my parents tell me later in the future, you know, hotel equaled homelessness. They didn't have nowhere to be. And I remember like coming up from the playing down on the floor and coming up the bed. My dad's naked on the bed and he just waves his at me. He's so out of his mind, having to be like, I imagine, maybe I'm just like soothing a predator and just imagining he's so out of his mind on drugs that he's not processing where he is on the planet. Like I don't have any memories of being physically touched or abused in that way, but just nudity and over sexualization, like the dynamics between black men and white women, like it's just a hypersexual dynamic. And I just watched the weirdness. Like it almost feels like I was inside a snow globe looking out at
That's bananas.
these banana people raising me. And yeah, I'm giggling because like I'm 37. I'm sitting here doing my makeup, starting my day, and I'm like, why was these niggas naked all the time? Like, oh, wait.
Yo.
So that's the kind of like domestic violence I witnessed. I watched this bizarre, drug induced,
Hmm.
chaotic life that, you know, I remember my mom, she's a white woman. So this isn't a white woman, a podcast about white women, but we know how they are in their tears. And I remember one day she made a phone call to the domestic violence hotline and she got off of the phone call just distraught in her ways. Like, oh, they said I wasn't being abused, that it wasn't really domestic violence. And I put those together and I was like, yeah, no, it's because y'all were sparring partners. You were insane together. You know, like you wasn't a black man's victim. Like, if anything, he was victimized by you with your white woman ways. But yeah, that is the domestic violence that I witnessed, this bizarre cocaine, crack induced haze of a childhood with a lot of nudity. But at nighttime, so they thought that like nobody was watching, but like I could hear y'all and I could just look out my bedroom door and I just see y'all naked going back and forth arguing down the hallways. Like, what? What is going on?
And then they would be sober in the morning?
They go to work in the morning.
That's wild.
My dad would be like, he would do long-term truck driving and then sometimes would have in town truck driving. My mom always worked at Baskin Robbins or Togo's or some bakery or sandwich shop. So they went to work. Like nobody was unemployed. I was going to school every day. I didn't have any tardies. Like
That's
they were
wild.
my dad was so strict. Like the house was clean, chores were done. I had like a baseline, like they held on to that foundation of like whatever American poverty but put together
Hmm.
with crack sprinkled on top. Like I don't even know. And then eventually they weren't together no more. And then that was when I was like in a teenager. I was a teenager at that point, so I just started running the streets and doing what I wanted to, and I moved out by 18. But them early years were them earlier years were wild.
Did you graduate high school?
I did, but I like finessed high school. So I did 1 year, I did ninth grade, and then I was like, I don't ever want to be back there. And I did 2 years of online homeschool. It was this
Mm-hmm.
thing called Visions in Education that was really a charter school for kids who couldn't complete their work. So
Mm-hmm.
because it was so easy, I completed a 3 year session in 2 compressed years. And I was just like, yeah, I'm up out of here. And then I went to college.
Yo, for like,
I know it was a lot. Take it in.
because like as intelligent as you are, no one would hear you speak and see you and be like, oh yeah, she was raised in a crack house. Like that's what it was.
I was really raised in a crack house around crackheads. Because
Yes.
like my dad used to sell coke, but once they decided to be parents, they decided to stop selling drugs and they couldn't afford coke. So they started doing whatever manufactured version of powder that you smoke out of some type of pipe. Because I was a kid, I was all in they shit. Like,
Yeah.
what's what y'all doing? Like, you have me home early. What's in here? And so like I'm just seeing all of these things that are like very much you put a powder, you light it up, there were
Mhm.
spoons around and just like y'all are crazy.
Did
Going to
you
work.
ever do it? Did you ever try it?
No, I did not, but I did try one time. I was gonna do meth with like my little teenage group of friends, but I
Mm-hmm.
really believe in angels and ancestors. They was not having it. They were not having it. And we searched all night for some methamphetamines.
And it wasn't coming. That
No, that
like this is what blows my mind because you have access to this. You're
mhm.
so young, you can't really make sense of what's happening to know that. I mean, it's weird, but it's not right. And you haven't been exposed to anybody else to be like, well, maybe adults do just run around the house naked at night and then they wake up and go to work the next day. Like you're seeing all of this as an adult now, and you like, that ain't right. But as a child, like you have
I had no
no,
baseline.
yes.
And then all the friends that we were always in an apartment complex. So we were just energetically aligned with all of the weirdest shit in Sacramento, California. So I didn't have like there wasn't like people who were doing better than us. Like there was no
Yeah.
Joneses to Jones after. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
everybody's parents are jaw jacket and
Yes.
going to work and paying bills.
And here you are today. Like this is so fascinating to me. And we don't talk enough about toxic relationships. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's good that your parents did come to a place where they end up separating. I don't know what that looks like now for your mom, if she's in a healthier space and your dad's in a healthier space. They just in a different space of
They just
toxicity.
hit a different space away from each other. They separated because my dad had multiple sclerosis and my mom was a white woman who couldn't bother to do anything about
Wow.
that. Is the party ended? That's it. The party ended, and then they had their little back and forth for a little minute. But he, to this day, hates her. He's in a hospital bed somewhere in California, like finna die or not. He's the juggernaut. I don't know. And my mama, well, that lady, she's a whole nother story, but she just running around and I realized that she was a narcissist, and
Mm.
I interacted with her back in 2024 and she was doing better. She wasn't drinking. And then turns out she an alcoholic and she crazy.
Okay. So you don't have a healthy relationship with either one of your parents to this day.
No way, no way, no way, no way. I had to let them go. My dad required caretaking that he hadn't earned through my childhood. And
Mm.
it would have meant me sacrificing things that like for the actual children I had. So I just made peace with it and was like, you finna rot over there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The state will inform me when you pass and I'll participate in the paperwork. And then my mom, we had a moment of repair. And then she
Mhm.
moved to Atlanta and we were about to buy a house. And then she decided to be an alcoholic again. And she like crashed her car in a ditch on the way to Tennessee. It's a movie. I should write a movie, really, truly. And so now we're officially estranged and don't speak at all. Like that was her final strike. I was like, you're done. You're done.
There is so much to unpack, and we ain't even at the surface.
I know. And that was just my recent realization. Like my spiritual journey is just so intense because once one layer is unpacked, the new one. So this podcast has turned into this new layer that I just found earlier this morning. Together we're unpacking it because I realized, like, to tie it into some of the relationships that I've had as of recently, is that I had a framework of toxic relationships
Mm-hmm.
and people playing victim, whether it be my father or my mother, and in a cyclical nature. My first relationship with my daughter's father, that toxic relationship was with somebody who was an actual physical abuser. I just had
Mm-hmm.
like specific standards and like power dynamics that prevented him from putting me through a wall. But the moment that those power dynamics shifted, toxicity quickly went into, I'd rather you be dead. And then with my son's father, it was just like an invitation to join into a toxic relationship after I was pregnant. So it was like this beautiful, loving, romantic thing that once I slipped into a place of vulnerability, needing physical, chemical, hormonal changes, he was like, now's the time, and like hit me with the silent treatment and invited me into this toxic dynamic. I could still have him. Like I could
Mm-hmm.
still contact him. We could do a little thing and, neither of us would grow. So I basically, my role was like, or my lesson was like, not choosing toxic relationships, because
Mm-hmm.
there is a cycle of victim mentality, but being a participant in a toxic relationship. I'm discovering these nuances as like, obviously women by and large are victims of domestic violence because of power dynamics, historical ability to unalive a woman and still get a 9 to 5 job. However,
Listen.
yes, however, we are in a place where women have had more rights historically on this planet than we ever have. So it's allowed us this interesting ability to participate in toxic dynamics. And we have the ability to psychologically abuse, tear down. Like we have our mechanisms, we have our
Mm-hmm.
ways. And so you can become a sparring partner in an unhealthy, toxic dynamic where both parties are being abused by each other and
Mm-hmm.
themselves in a closed circuit.
Yeah.
And that understanding is what made me reflect back to my child, because I was like, well, I never see my daddy punch that lady in the face. I never see nobody, like obviously that's
Mm-hmm.
not the son of abuse. We know it's much deeper than that, but like they were insane together and they
Yeah.
loved that shit until it got real with sickness.
Yeah. That's wild. Because he got sick, that's probably the only reason that they
Mhm.
separated. And
I
I
think
just
so.
want to highlight the maturity and the self-love to say you didn't earn me taking care of you in your latter years the way that you mishandled me in my former years. And a
Mhm.
lot of people, especially women, because women are usually the ones who end up being the caretakers for their parents when they're old or sick or something happens that wasn't expected, carry this burden and this weight of feeling obligated to be there because we share DNA and
Mhm.
you're my parent. But at the same time, we still have to protect ourselves from our own family
Yeah.
because there are different levels of toxicity, and some of them are more damaging than others naturally, right? But for you to be like, let me just take a pause for a second and reflect on what you exposed me to, because your life could have been totally different. You could have
Imagine it
been
literally.
in them like gutters.
Yes.
But like you said, like I really believe like you had the angels, you had God, you had everything surrounding and protecting you from where you could have easily been.
Mhm.
And I feel like God was like, not this one. Not this
Yeah,
one.
no, for real. Like
Because
it was
what?
about the lessons. I feel like the purpose was for me to have this lesson set, to talk about it, to share it,
Yeah.
because I should be folded doubled over. I'm only 12 months postpartum and my fiance left me. Like just disappeared while I was 4 months pregnant. But for some reason, this lesson set from childhood to relationships to where I am now has all been about like, I want you to experience, I want you to see, I want you to move through the waters of pain and suffering, because there's something else. To walk out with an untainted heart and clear
Hmm.
vision, that I
That's
cannot take that
gift
for granted. I cannot take that for granted.
for sure.
Mm-mm.
For sure. So we back up. Your parents separate when you're in middle school. When
Mm-hmm.
they separate when you're in middle school, do you feel like that had a negative, neutral, or positive impact on you as you look back on how you navigated life after that separation?
I feel like that was like it was a breath of fresh air not to live with my dad anymore. He was insufferable, to be perfectly
Really?
honest. Like, yeah, my dad was an insufferable man because he was just always so serious. He was the disciplinarian. He was the bad cop of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as a child, I ain't like that nigga, you know? And my mom, she's your mother, and so there's this thing and pull, and she did have this softness, and she, you know, had this whole white family, and we would do Easters and normal in fun places. And so, like, I had a softer spot for my mama than I did my dad, even though they
Mm-hmm.
were equally nuts. But you know, as a child, you don't know that. So I experienced their separation as relief, and the requirement to go spend the weekend with my dad or whatever, I hated. I was like, please don't make me go over there. Like, there's rules, there's the smell of old men. No, please, please. And then also he was sick, and I felt this, I don't know how to explain it. I don't think people really talk about it, that like my dad being sick and being vulnerable and needing help, like I just felt this repulsion inside my body. And I think it was because he was so awful. Like there's just something, I need to evaluate it more, but there's something between like your sympathy being pulled on for someone who doesn't deserve it that made
Mm-hmm.
the situation really painful to be in every time I was around him. Just this physical, just, I hate it here. I hate it
Mm-hmm.
here because you're mean, because you're sick. You require a lot of things because you're sick. You have no control over yourself and your body, so you want to have control over me as a child, and like your rules are the highway. So it was a very painful process, my parents splitting, but there was just so much relief in just being at mom's house. And eventually I was old enough to be like, you can't make me go to that nigga's house.
Mm-hmm.
But because what's interesting is my brother quit the going to his house way sooner than me, and he was like,
How old is your brother? Oh,
oh,
how much
he
older than
passed
you
away.
is he?
Yeah, he passed away. He was, I feel like he would be like 33 now or something like that. I lost track. But yeah, so he was like 5 years younger than me.
Oh,
And
wow.
he quit seeing that before me. He said, you can't make me. But I just had this guilt. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, I'm going. I've operated most of my life out of just a heavy sense of guilt and obligation. And so I
Mm-hmm.
saw him much more than he did. And eventually my brother stopped. I still kept going. And I maintained a relationship mostly out of guilt until I finally just was like, no, thank you. No. But I
Yeah.
experienced that separation as like a relief for myself because my mom would be at work. I was homeschooling during that time. So I had my ability to
Mm-hmm.
run I was literally in the streets because I was homeschooled, but I don't know. I had angels and a head about me. Like if it didn't feel good, I didn't really do it. I didn't get in trouble or nothing, but
That's
it was
good.
freedom. Leaving that house was absolute freedom with some contention with having to go see that man still and dealing with
Yeah.
my mom who was like mad abusive and narcissistic. She was basically the victim and I was the new aggressor. I was told, you're just like your father. You're just like him.
Really?
Yes,
Well,
dude. So
okay, give us an example because what does
I
it
don't
look like that you're doing that she's saying you're just like your father to make you
I
feel like you're out
honestly
of
don't
place?
know. I honestly don't know. You know, I think an example could be like just the simplicity of a teenage mom experience where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, I've never been someone who would cuss her out. I have an attitude and I have opinions. I'm really smart. And so what I assume is that in interactions, I just flared up her ego
Mm-hmm.
significantly. And she saw me as a threat to her sense of self, a threat to her ego. And she used to see my father as a threat to her physically or whatever threat she had. So I represented some type of threat to her. And
Okay.
because I was of my father, you know, mothers are like, if they're unhealed, they're gonna see their, you know, old counterpart in their children. So that was really that.
Wow.
I just was very like, I'm sure I was a cunt. I'm sure it was quite a handful. Because I was watching all of this hypocrisy. You guys are on crack. She slept with my man. During that time, she slept with friends that I used to kick it with. She used to do drugs with them. My brother
Like
found
friends that were your age?
uh I guess that's not fair. I shouldn't have been friends with them. They were a little older. Upon introspection and actually looking back at the catalog, them of like 2021, I was like 13, 14, you know?
Yo, how did you meet these people? Is it just because y'all are in the same
Just
apartment
on the block.
complex?
Just no, well, it was cute. It was like this cute little apartment complex inside this neighborhood with a bunch of houses and duplexes.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was Paul's house that we would kick it in. He had his garage, and then there was this Tongan family across the street that would, bring kava out. It was just a bunch of poor people, you know what I mean? And so these, all of these men or boys were older than us. Like I'm teenagers, we're kicking it with 18 to 20-year-olds, and the random 30, 40-year-old always pops through. You know what I mean? But she slept with one of my 20-year-old friends when I was a teenager. Uh,
You were 13
was a
and nobody
child.
tried anything.
Oh, I mean, I was protected by being fat and ugly.
I'm kicking you off this show. We're done. Pack it up. Hey, y'all turn the lights off. We're done.
Turn the lights off. We're done with her shit.
Yo.
No, but I mean that, and let me clarify, because like the thing is that I was never the most attractive of the options of the teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I was the biggest. I was not a cutie patootie because I didn't do any makeup. I didn't do any of the feminine things. I was the homeboy. So I
Yeah.
was like, I don't get along with girls.
Yeah.
I get along better with the dudes because I
Yeah.
didn't have access to my femininity. I felt fat and I felt ugly. And so a lot of that protected me from some of the sexual abuse and age gaps that I probably would have experienced if I had confidence, felt pretty, was doing all the teenage feminine things, carrying my purse around. I was just a nigga who could roll a blunt real good. So I definitely had and still can, but I obviously had some sexual encounters,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really start having sex or sexual encounters for real until after I had my first child. Like that's when I like needed to revisit my maidenhood, my mother, like who I was as a woman, but my early years was just it was pretty dry. It was pretty dry.
With your other friends though, do you recall anything like were there any sexual advances towards them?
Oh yeah.
Did
All the
they fall for it or were they
Oh, they
like
loved it. That's the thing that's really hard. That's really hard, and I feel like we should cut the cameras and have a private session on this one because young girls are primed to be looking for the attention and
mm-hmm.
affections of any man that gives them validation. So
Child, read
sad
my
sadly, none of these girls would have read most of these interactions as sexual abuse or
yes.
as statutory rape or as you're
Yes.
being manipulated. It was the gutter of men that have been rejected by good
Talk
women
about it.
who were paired with teenage girls who they could get because they have no sense of up, down, right, left, east, west. They don't know. We are just trained to like, I remember like, I want to go back to not having the right body and it almost being a protection mechanism because we were raised by limited to Abercrombie and Fitch. We were
Mm-hmm.
raised by companies that were owned by people in the Epstein files. We've been primed to be food for pedophiles. So all of my friends like were wearing, those low cut jeans. I was in the
Mm-hmm.
hit era of we want to see your hip bones. I was
Mm-hmm.
in the era of you have the two shirts on and the cute red bra that pushes everything up. You can see the top of the bra. I'm from the era of the thong sticking out. I'm from the era of we don't have hips, we look like a little boy, but we have makeup on, and that's exciting. And you're young, so you have small breasts. I had large breasts. I had a belly that overhang. There wasn't no hip bones to be seen, and so I didn't have access to what everyone is spoon fed. What is femininity?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just was like, well, guess I'm a and all the rest of my friends were like, I'm pretty, I'm cute, I can wear this. And when men tell me I'm pretty and when men say they want me, which I'm internalizing this too. Wasn't free of this. I knew that if I wanted to be in partnership or relationship, I needed to be viewable. I need to be gazeable. And so that actually played into my late when I became a hot, like that's what was still my internal world that I had to work
Mhm.
through. That I was like, ooh, I'm
Right.
hot now, and they want me, and they can
Mhm.
see me, and they're looking at me. Something I never experienced as a child.
This is so important though,
I know, I
because
know,
we
I know.
really, when you're talking about how that was me, I didn't wear, because all I saw myself was as like a 2x4, right? I didn't, no curves, no breasts, nothing. And so I actually did the opposite. I didn't want to wear the low rise. I was
Mhm,
like, put me in my brother's baggy clothes because I ain't got nothing to show anyways. Nobody's going to be attracted to me. But then you graduate, you get to college, and like there's just an array of boys and girls at this point, and it was still the seeking validation, like, oh my gosh, you think I'm pretty out of all of these girls, you're complimenting me, not realizing too that I'm just gonna say whatever I need to say to hopefully get what I want from you.
yes,
But
I had
we
no idea.
we don't talk about this enough. Like y'all are 13 years old. No, we don't talk about how wrong it is for someone who's bump, even just if you're 13, you're what, seventh grade,
Mhm,
eighth grade. There's no reason for you to be hanging out with sophomores, juniors, and seniors, because even though it's only 3, 4 years difference, these are prime years where they have already jumped over that puberty hurdle and they're in a different level of physical sexual maturity than you are at this age, and it's easy for them to see you
mhm.
as this, oh, I can say everything I need to say to get in them draws,
Yes.
but you're giving me attention, and oh my gosh, I'm getting attention from an older boy, then oh my gosh, I'm getting
I'm so
attention from
mature for
somebody
my
who's
age.
not in. Yes, and it's twisted to make the young girls think that they have something that puts them above or sets them apart, when in reality the people who are attracted to you are sick in the head, because
Mhm.
there's no reason you should
There's
be
no
in
reason.
college attracted to a middle schooler.
No, it's disgusting. I actually I realized that I didn't even include, like, I've focused on the people I've had children with, but my first long-term boyfriend that I was pregnant by, he was 28 and I was 18.
Yo.
And he was bringing me around his family and stuff. And I thought that his mom hated me because, like, it was very clear that she hated me and hated my presence. And now I understand why she hated my presence. Like, why are you dating a child?
Yes.
Bring him to me, yes. So it's just a very interesting thing, the way I was
Hmm.
raised and how it translated into like being in these weird dynamics
Yes.
with much older men.
Yes.
Much
So
older,
here
like
you,
what, a 30-year-old? A 30-year-old and I was
yes,
18?
and you're 18, you haven't experienced anything.
Mm-mm.
You're just getting out of high school. Even though you finished early, you're just getting out of high school and you have
Right.
not. And at that age too, we don't see, we're so mature at that age in our minds because we've gone through kindergarten, middle school, and high school, that
Yes, we've done all
we
these
can't
things.
even see us being 40 years old. We can't even imagine. We can't even imagine at that age being 30.
I
It's
know.
almost like life is here and I want to stay alive. I want to keep living. But that, what is that? That's not going to be me. I'm going to be this age forever. And to know that the mind is not fully developed, to know that we have totally different, like, I would not, at my age, I'm around kids all day. I'm a teacher, and I look at these little high school boys and I'm like, how in the world are these teachers getting, and the girls, how are we getting caught up
I can't
with a
comprehend.
high schooler or a middle schooler?
Arrested Development.
Talk
Arrested
to us.
Development. Yes. I had something come up with my child where she plays video games on the tablet with friends across the country that, have moved or whatever, and we stayed in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the children brought something sexually inappropriate to the friend dynamic. So the parents had to be spoken with. My friend is a therapist and she led the conversation with them. And we just had one parent talk with them because it just was healthier than to have everybody talking to you. So my
Yeah.
friend, the therapist, she's incredible at conflict management. She had a conversation with them and she was like, I had to put my therapist hat on the entire time. I thought that I was going to go in there and have a conversation about poor behavior and how we were going to address it and make sure that everyone stays safe moving forward. She's like, I had to coach them through their own trauma. She's like, I would have aged them about age 11 or 12, and that's where they've kind of stopped development. She's like, it felt very much talking to preteens or teenagers, and understanding that so many of us just have regular trauma, just regular everyday trauma. Like, I'm not the only
Mm-hmm.
kid who had parents running around crackheads in the middle of the night that went to work the next day. So we have this like class of people who are just average Joes experiencing average trauma, and they're not growing past those moments where
Yeah.
they've experienced significant trauma. And I'm not excusing pedophiles in
Mm-hmm.
any way, shape, or form,
Mm-hmm.
but there's something specific for the development of a woman pedophile who has who seeks validation and who has arrested development as a combination, because that's the only thing I can understand why a woman who generally speaking should have maternal instincts in some way or another. Not to say all women are mothers, but yes, like there has to be a combination of trauma, arrested development, and that validation seeking of like, this young boy
Mm-hmm.
smiling at me. It's disgusting nonetheless, but there's something there about arrested development because y'all still
Yes.
see yourself as young or needing to act out
Yes.
some youth or something. But I'm not an expert on pedophiles, so I'll leave it there. But arrested development, I'm sure, has a part of it.
That is like, it's just sad. And I get to y'all's environment. Your parents are off working, they're gone, and you have access to be around.
Hmm.
It's just, it's so sad that the kids can't be protected from people that shouldn't even be there, you know?
Right.
And then you
Hmm.
feel cool, like, oh, wow, these older guys want to just hang out with us and blah, 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 blah. But this is why it's so important to have open conversation, like to have a safe space for your child to come to you to talk about things so that you can see what they are exposing
Mhm.
themselves to when you're not around and
I was just trying to
hopefully
escape
help
from my
them
house.
navigate.
Like, if my home hadn't been a place that I needed to escape, I wouldn't have found myself in
Yes,
places at all. Like,
that's
and
another thing.
yeah, like my home was a place that needed to be escaped so I could have some type of freedom. And yeah, once I had an ounce of freedom, girl, I was in the back seat of somebody's Corolla with some ecstasy on the way to the river's edge. Like,
What?
Lord have mercy. I know my spirit guides are tired. It's been 37 long years. They tired, boss. We ain't even halfway through. I know they tired.
He said the back of somebody's Corolla. Oh my gosh. Okay, okay. So in high school, you're you're the fat ugly friend, the
Mm-hmm.
homeboy.
The homeboy, yeah.
You graduate online, then you go off to college. When you go off to college, are you close to where you grew up? Are you like, let me get some distance
Still in the
between me
neighborhood.
and this? Okay.
I did community college. I've always been like, had this like ability to attract finances to myself. So I was always trying to find the way that was the easiest way to make bread without legal way that I
Hmm.
could make bread without having to work that hard. And school was it. And the community college was right around the corner, and they was paying me like $1,200 a semester or $12,000 a semester. So yeah,
What? Doing what?
I was just in I took out grants and loans and did my associates. I left associates with like 30 bands in debt. So I was like, I just stuck around. I was really local, still very much near my mom and my dad, and going to college now, but I was still the homeboy, very
Hmm.
much the homeboy. Like, I ended up hanging out with college was such an interesting experience because I think I have a bougie soul, and now I started dealing with like people who have money
Mm-hmm.
and were just crazy and chaotic. Like I was friends with this woman who her family owned a casino because she was a part of the indigenous tribe out that way.
Okay.
And so she was making like 30 bands a month that was just sent to her. Like, and so we would just did whatever, you know? And then
What?
I had another friend who owned a whole hookah store. He was like he was Arabic. And I almost said like it's so ridiculous. Like the Sacramento hood was like, I almost called him this Arab because that's what he called himself. But
Mm-hmm.
it was this Arabic guy, and his family bought him a hookah store, and he was always on coke and was just making money out of this hookah spot. And so I was just hanging out with like wealthy mixed kids in Sacramento. Like Sacramento's home of the mixed children. Like
Okay.
they think equality happened there because everyone's brown and mixed and whatever the fuck. But
Mm-hmm.
I was hanging out with all those kids in the wealthier part of town. Just just shenanigans. Pure chicanery. Pure chicanery.
Wait, so at this age, are these college age students as well?
College age students, some of which is so interesting. So I hung out with college age students, and then also like my homegirl who was indigenous, she didn't go to school, but she was my age group, but she was hanging around old heads. Like she like if you can imagine like somebody who is made to be prey, plus they have money, and just the people who be hanging around, bro. The people
Yeah.
like demons, straight up demons hanging around all day long.
Yes.
Like I was literally
Parasites.
yes, parasites, demons, just such a weird time to be alive. But yeah, college was such an interesting experience where like now I was starting to have sexual encounters. I didn't have a boyfriend during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was all just like one night off things where we were drunk and everybody else was like, "Oh, it's who I fucked," you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, college was its own interesting thing, but it was
Yeah.
in town. It was still around my parents. I still had access to them and their toxicity for sure.
Okay. Do you feel like, because your environment is just it was just a breeding ground for buffoonery, is
Yeah.
what it sounds like. Like from
Mhm.
the day you were born to up until this point, it just sounds like a breeding ground. Like how do you make wise decisions and good choices as you're maturing and basically raising yourself at a certain level when you're not, like, you don't have the wise counsel, you don't have the parent that can guide, or the auntie or the parent's friend that can be like, that you think is what you want but it's not what you want. You're just out there in it.
Yeah, there was literally no guidance except like I don't want to insult my spirit guides. They really helped me together.
Yeah.
But the only thing that was my guidance was having these lessons and
Mm-hmm.
learning from them. That was it. I made a choice every single time to learn from them and not do that anymore. Like, and I can't, that's not a simple thing because it was a lot of loss and a lot of discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could just stay in whatever I was doing or I could move on. And I've always been a spiritual person. Like, I think I put my hands on a tarot deck when I was like 13. And
Mm-hmm.
I had this wild sensation of energy shooting up my arms. And I've been a tarot reader ever since. And so I have journals from I just have so many journals and so many things that I've written. And so I have just been a person who's keen on introspection and be like, "Oh, I went to the school of hard knocks, but you didn't learn shit. You didn't get a degree.
Because
You didn't do nothing." But no,
you
I passed
stayed.
all the classes. Like I whatever was thrown at me, like I wasn't given guides in human form. I
Mm-hmm.
had an internal compass, a moral compass of right and wrong, and a keen self-preservation. And so each time I learned something new about like the stove is hot, I stopped
Mm-hmm.
touching it. And folks don't do that. Like
No, we
the
don't.
same thing that they do when they were 20, they're still doing when they're 40. And in some ways I'm 37 and some of those residual things that I wasn't getting that I just kept having to bump my head up against, like I finally
Mm-hmm.
feel like I finally broke through on some of those final lessons, particularly around relationships, toxic dynamics, choosing yourself, and not participating, not being a sparring
Yeah.
partner. Because, you know, some of us are victims who have placed ourselves in positions to be victimized because we've been indoctrinated. But there are moments in this interesting age that we're offered a peek at that indoctrination to see yourself. And
Yeah.
I think that there's choice in seeing yourself or just deciding that you're going to be the ancestor that your parents or your children have to heal from, you know, like
Yeah.
that's just kind of that. And having kids really, really directed me. Like, I don't think that I started to get it. I didn't become an adult until like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
For real. There's been lots of wisdom. Like, I have learned a lot, but ultimately, like, as wise as I am and as much as I'm willing to apply practical evidence from life, I
Mm-hmm.
still didn't become an adult until like 5 years ago. I can only imagine what people are up against.
Yeah.
Having no wisdom, having no ability to choose their internal compass, having
Mm-hmm.
no understanding how to navigate these lessons. Like, I'm deeply blessed. And I have to have grace for so many people who do find themselves in these situations because it's not easy. Like, I'm saying this with a ha ha and a hee hee, and this is what I chose. That is not easy. Like, at
Mm-hmm.
this point in time now, I don't want to disrespect any of the very few close friends I have, but I do not have a large group of friends. I do not have a chaotic network. Like, when you choose yourself and you get in alignment, like, you don't have hella people around you anymore because
Yeah.
a lot of people are choosing toxic things that are to unbearable to me as I've gotten
Yeah.
more in alignment. Like, I'm just like, I can't be in
Mm-hmm.
relationship to that. Like, I had a woman that I was courting as far as friendship goes, and she was abusing her children. I can't be friends with you. Like, you think it's 2026 at your big age, you have TikTok. We know we don't cuss at babies like that. Like, whatever aggression and anger you have, like, you're not allowed to have that. It's like,
Yeah.
you too smart for that. Like, I met her
Yeah.
through business and was impressed by her. And I'm just like, all y'all are fake. And you come home and abuse the people closest to you. She was actually the
Man.
person that helped me know that not everyone is a victim of domestic violence. They are a sparring partner. Like, she was the one that gave me that wisdom. But ultimately, choosing yourself can be really lonely. And I see why people don't choose themselves. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be in a room full of wolves than be in a room by myself for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that insecurity that's there to still need validation, still need approval, and not be able to just do it on our own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been bred to seek approval and to look
Mm-hmm.
for authority. Like, women and young girls are passed from authority figure to authority figure. We go from our parents to
Mm-hmm.
college, school institutions, and as quickly and as possibly we go into relationships with men who then
Mm-hmm.
are the decision makers. We are constantly taught to look externally for someone to help guide our decisions. We're meant to be subject to some power system. So, thinking like, it's one thing to be a solo mom, it's another thing to be an independent woman and
Yeah.
be self-reliant, trust yourself and be self-assured. That
Mm-hmm.
is a completely different ballgame. We are bred to be controlled, because
Yeah.
if we're in control, then this whole every table gets flipped.
Yep.
Like, if we are not, the rise of the baby mama and the solo mother is actually shifting timelines, because it is the one place that you can be where the whole of society has shunned you. Even your family, in some cases, have shunned you. You are now alone. It's the first time that you have no power structures telling you what to do, ideally. So, no one's coming to help you, nor is anyone coming to correct you. That is why it is so shame to be a single woman, because in that condition, a single mother or a single woman can actually realize her power, because she's the first time that she can look to herself for authority. And a woman has a choice. Oftentimes they throw that away and will just try to find partnership, because that authority is terrifying. Power, responsibility, authority is terrifying, and it's lonely. And so we shame the single whole woman because that's where we learn to be autonomous. We trust ourselves. We trust ourselves to pay the bills now. All of a sudden, we trust ourselves to raise our children without a man. All of a sudden, we trust to build a village out of women and elders who aren't from our bloodlines. We're creating something that the institutions have wanted so desperately to rip from us. And I know, like, as a single mom, as like a woman and survivor, it is terrifying. Like, the first thing we want to do is like find another husband, baby daddy, something. Please, Lord, something. Guide my hand because this is exhausting. It's for the birds.
Girl, you said so much. Hold on. Me and these peanut M&Ms. I'm
Shoot
over here.
them
I might as well
M&Ms. Shoot
just.
them M&Ms. Let me see. Ahara, your brother's coming up the stairs. If he comes into that room, shut that door behind him, please. Come sit on the stairs with him. Love you so much.
Come on now. You're talking
Thank you.
and you're talking about how we're being groomed. And it was so funny because on the way home today from school, I was just thinking about, I don't even know how I got to thinking about Disney characters and Disney movies. And I was like, everything's always about a kiss. All these young Disney princesses are little girls, and it's all about a kiss. Snow White, Cinderella, doggone Little Mermaid. And as you're talking, saying that we're being groomed, I'm like, if you look back at these, you had Belle, who was adventurous, like from Beauty and the Beast. She wasn't interested in was it whatever his name was. She was really on her path, and then she meets the Beast, and it's just like, oh well, bump all the things that I was gonna do. Let me rescue you, even though
Oh,
you have me held captive in your tower.
right.
I fall in love with the warden who
Yes,
has
you're
taken
literally
my life.
told that your love and softness and femininity has the ability to tame a beast. That was the point of the story. Is that if you give enough femininity, grace, beauty, subservience, then that beast will become your Prince Charming.
And they will not.
No, he's still a beast
I
wearing a
remember
prince suit.
I put a post on Instagram. It was 2013. And it was like this picture of the Hulk. And I had the Hulk faded out. So he was kind of in the background. And it was like, I just want to be his piece. Like you hear how crazy this is?
That's
The
crazy.
Hulk, but it's the mindset because you hear all the time men just want somebody who's going to be their piece. No, there. Let me make sure I say this correctly. The
Do you bet?
amount of people talking about how women are natural reproducers of what they receive is far less than the amount of people magnifying and amplifying the idea that however this man acts doesn't matter. You should be able to be his piece. Bump all the trauma that he's been through, and he doesn't know how to manage his own trauma, his own emotions, his own self-control. So he just rages and takes out. Bump all the times that all these moms and women have stayed in relationships, and we glorify the fact that y'all have been married 50 years, but he's been putting a ball to the back of your head every Christmas for the last 30. Like, we don't we glorify years and longevity of abuse and say that, wow, thank you. All these Facebook and Instagram posts, thank you for sticking with me, babe, through all this such and such and stuff, such that I did. Like,
Either.
these women almost lost their lives to people, and they're saying, thank you for sticking with me. The guy, the Harpo over here, after I left, we were still, because I was still in that mental state of not fully releasing. So I still entertain the idea of couples counseling. My mind was like, there's no reason for us to go back, but my shame and guilt was like, maybe we should at least still try so that it doesn't look like you just gave up again. And the counselor shared with me when they had a private session, he was like, so I asked him, if your daughter were to grow up, would you want her to marry someone like you? And his response was, well, not right now. Not ever would I want any of my daughters to marry anyone like him.
Never.
Not
No.
ever would I want his daughter, who's not my biological daughter, to marry anyone like him.
But the likelihood is they really will.
But the likelihood is, well, not my babies.
I
His, she might. But these
was
three that
talking
I
about
gave
the
birth
other
to.
one that you had no control over. That other
Oh
baby.
no, no, no. We baby, we
Yeah.
gotta cut this train off. But my point is, to your point about painting the picture of Beauty and the Beast even better, is that the whole point of that story was your love and softness can tame a beast. When in the reality is, if you make me feel safe and secure, then I can be open to give my softness. You can take me out of survival mode so that I can be soft and submissive to whatever. Let me reciprocate what you're giving me. And if you give me what you need and I multiply it, you like it, that means you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Everybody want to be the head of the household. Everybody want to be the leader. Everybody want to be called king, but you're out here treating these women however you want to treat them and still expect them to be, you going to respect me or else, or you going to submit to what I say, or this is my law, this is my house. Baby, your name ain't even on the paperwork.
That
Just
be
because
the
you got three legs does not mean that this is your house.
no. I let you occupy it under my name because you ain't got no credit or no
Because
job.
you ain't got no credit or it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
No job,
And just the
no history.
everyday nothing. Can't even book an appointment for themselves.
Baby,
And
can't even use Airbnb.
a moment of silence for the incompetence.
Let me settle down.
I
Getting a little too.
feel like that was the most settled we've been this whole conversation so far. We saw an opportunity and we just let it die. We just said,
We
you know
just let
what?
it, because can we just, it's just sad that we still, in general, take, we still can't hold the person who's responsible for the abuse accountable for their actions. It's
Yeah.
still, what did you do? It's still, how did you, I, man, I saw a post in the group the other day. So I posted something in a group and I had several people comment on it because I'm in like a lot of domestic violence, narcissistic abuse relationship groups. One response was, we were in counseling with our therapist and we were open and vocal about the fact that he was abusing me. And she said, or the therapist, I don't know if it was he or she, said to me, well, have you considered trying to give him sex more? Because it seems like maybe it'll help with his anger issues.
What? There's so much to unpack there.
So
There's
much.
so many layers to unpack there.
So many.
Yeah. It's just that is rape culture's comfort with your body is his, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like men are so simple. All they need is sex and directions.
And
And
don't.
like that's it. Like, why is it so hard for you? Like he'll pay all the bills and be nice to you. Just give up the booty. Insane.
There was
Absolutely.
a time at the end of the marriage when we were still living together. It was
Oh,
like
you did it the right way. You got married.
I got pregnant first,
Whatever, it was the right way. Don't nobody
then
need
got married. It was all wrong.
because everybody swears that you like marriage is gonna save you.
It don't.
Well, you know what? If you kept your legs closed and you got married, you wouldn't be a single mom.
If
Okay.
you didn't, I agree. If you keep your legs closed, you won't be a single mom, because you're gonna,
Correct.
like, if you could just not give in to that moment and be like, nah, I'm not gonna have sex, your clarity is a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And their inability to maintain their self-control is different. Like, because it's only gonna be so many times you tell me no before I either go out and cheat on you, or I'm just like, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
but we were like, he had like drinking crazy, and he started like, he would be gone all night, like leave and come back at 5 o'clock in the morning type all night, six
That's
o'clock in the
insane.
morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. And then he had the audacity to put the pressure on me, like saying, well, is there something, maybe if we have sex and all this other stuff, I'll get sleepy and I'll go to sleep and I'll stay here. So me trying to, one, I don't want the wrath of what, once you get to a certain point, like, it's dang if you do, dang if you don't, because there's going to be wrath either way, but you're still in the mindset of maybe the wrath won't be that bad, or maybe this
Yeah.
will actually help. So I'm giving it up, disgusted, don't want to, and he still leaves
Yeah.
and still goes on whatever shenanigans he goes on all night long, because you're not sitting in Bucky's parking lot till
Yeah.
6 o'clock in the morning and then driving back home. You're not driving around for 7 hours and then coming back home.
No, that's not
I
what's
don't
happening.
know where you going to lay your head, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it'd be the isolation of relationships. Intimate partner relationships are so isolating, and
Mhm.
they don't have the context of everyone else is experiencing the same thing. So you think that you have power within those dynamics to make changes. You thought that you had power to soothe the situation by providing him what he said would make it better. And you're a dutiful wife who is wanting to participate in the repair, it being better. And nobody's telling you, like, oh, hey, no, that's a control tactic where he's actually trying to take something from you non-consensually and is still going to go do what he wants to do. So now
Mhm.
he's gotten both. There's too much isolation in those intimate partner relationships. I think TikTok has filled that gap so much for women.
Yeah.
We're in isolations, doom scrolling with a baby on our titty and be like, wait, wait, everyone,
Yep.
wait, this isn't normal. Like what you're experiencing, what I'm experiencing, this is an epidemic. Like that isolation is like a key function of staying in an abusive dynamic.
Mhm. 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 Very much so. And that's the thing that they do, is like, let me cut you off from everybody as quickly as possible so that we can develop this own space. And now I can be the president, the emperor, the king of all things that happens in here. And you don't get to discuss anything that's happening in here with the outsiders, and they don't get to taint your mind.
Right. They don't get to play with your mind. And like isolating you is just so, and we also self isolate because what is well, once I have a man, I'm going to be focused on that. Once I'm in a relationship, my man is my number one priority. And
Mhm.
society goes, well, obviously, babes. And we're just like, oh yeah, we don't see Sarah anymore. She's with her man. And like sometimes she'll come out if we all bring our man. And that is just culturally normal. Like
Mhm.
again, that's that breeding of like, okay, you're in partnership and now you go off into your little world, which is completely opposite of any village standards. You have a partner,
Yes.
bring that relationship into the scrutiny and the eye of the community.
Yes. The
Like,
village.
yes, because when, like, I think of my partnership, which wasn't, it was an invitation to be in a toxic relationship that I almost took. But if we had lived in a village dynamic and he was going through whatever male breakdown that caused him to leave a potential wife and child, would have been soothed by the elders in the community, the healthy minds of the men around them, the healthy mothers in community with him to hold him accountable. And his choices would have been to go off into the world and survive or die on his own, being cut off from his community, or to be called in and heed that advice. And in
Mhm.
isolation, you aren't accountable.
Right.
You can build whatever community you want around.
Yes.
Like the village being gone means you can create whatever village you want. And every single relationship that I was in, they were surrounded by a community that was just like them. That
Yes.
like there was no one that was going to hold them accountable or see my side and speak to them. And that was something I realized in every single one of those relationships, is that I would reach out to the women that were close to them, best friends, girlfriends, whatever, and they all would say the same thing. Well, you shouldn't have done this. Well, I hear you, but you can't be doing that. Okay. So being the victim of reactive abuse, my healthy response is the reason why I got you. Bet no problem. No problem. Cool. Like there is no isolation coupled with false community is just such an interesting dynamic where it's just like there's no one to check me inside this dynamic or outside this dynamic. You better go find a new dynamic if you're trying to get somewhere.
Yes. And the authority and the power to say, I'm inviting these people in, but I can cut them off.
Right.
And will cut them off when they're no longer serving. Like that's what Harp over here is doing. Like when we agreed to do counseling, he had to have the say on who was the counselor. Then when they were telling him what to do, he wouldn't do it. So he stopped going to counseling.
Yeah, because it's a willingness to make an internal change, and I just like yes, everyone can change, but a rare amount of people will. It usually is a catastrophic external event that forces a change, or it is with the internal willpower of somebody who's in control to make a change.
Yeah.
And that's why it is rare to see a man who has made those changes. He has no reason to. He's surrounded by society that comforts him. And so a man who is able to shake off patriarchy and his role as a predator and to reconnect with his humanity and his spirit and him being more than a production engine, that is a miracle. And that's why we still say all men, because like it just is so few. Men are bred in comfort. Like we're taught to soothe them, their mothers soothe them, the society around them soothes them. Everything is about the male comfort. And like that is why they can't produce healthy family dynamics, because family is the ultimate ground of discomfort. It shatters your ego. Women come here to die. That's why they become so different. Like men refuse like that's why it's like you don't often see a man who has left his family and is also successful, because he has a threshold for discomfort when it comes to any type of growth. And so maintaining a family requires being uncomfortable with yourself to grow to meet that. Having a positive career and making bank requires you to be uncomfortable and grow to do that. And then once you've made that money, now there's a line of pussy there to make you comfortable because you produce now, and now you get the rewards. And so to be able to like every single level, there is something there to make a man more comfortable, and for them to break through those dynamics and be a safe place is miraculous. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm not seeing it every day, because why would I choose discomfort when I could literally just go kick it with the homeboys, play Call of Duty, scroll through and like women on Instagram, go out, slap and come back? Like, why would I deal with my baby mama wanting a schedule? Like, she don't give me no pussy no more. Like, I'm not even trying to give her money because it doesn't give me nothing. Why? There's no reason to choose. You can still have the rewards without discomfort. And even though they're false rewards, we'll see the impact that we're seeing the impact of that behavior right now in this generation. And ultimately that behavior comes to a head. It's false. It's built on nothing. But in the meantime, while we're living it right here in this reality,
Yeah.
no, they don't want to be uncomfortable, and people don't want to change. And that's for men and women as well. Like changing for women means being comfortable with yourself to be self-reliant and to seek validation from within, which means you don't have the attention of these dusty men anymore. Like you have standards. It is so I just want to be a Dutch for one night and just go out and party. But like, like you have, once you give it all up, like
Baby, them
it's lonely.
standards. Them
Standards are
standards.
standards are boring. They have you reading books. They have you laying around a house and lighting candles and maybe watching your favorite show and maybe going to the park. And that is not, that causes no cortisol, adrenaline,
Child.
excitement. It's boring. It's quiet. Like it's boring. It's quiet. And boredom is where creativity happens. And so until you get
Yes.
bored and quiet, like,
Quiet is where creativity happens for sure.
mm-hmm.
So take us to the father of your daughter, your oldest.
Mm-hmm. Yes. She's in
How did
earshot.
y'all
So we'll call
meet?
him, I guess we'll stick with your Harpo. That's great. I don't even have to think about it. So she's in earshot. We'll call him Harpo.
All right, listen, I know. Here I am again to split another episode up into two parts. I just want to give y'all a break. Let you gather yourself, let you marinate all the things that we have discussed so far, and be back next week because we're going to have part 2 of Kristina's story. The tomfoolery does not end, it escalates with the nonsense that these Harpos feel like they have control and authority over us simply because we done shared a child. Your DNA does not guarantee access. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. It don't. It don't guarantee access. So while y'all then went through the first half of Kristina's story, we gonna finish it up next week because it ain't over with yet. Anyways, y'all know what it is. We gon' pew, 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 pew. See you next week. Bye.